Hi,
Hello.
Rachel is here. It's so lovely to see you all. I'm Chris. Hello. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Annette Williams. I'm the chairperson of the Women's Spirituality PhD program and the Women, Gender, Spirituality, and Social Justice MA program. Welcome to Book Talk. Today, it is my great pleasure to host Dr. Lynne Edwards, who has written this lovely book, hold it up here, The Return of the High Priestess. And I will do a brief introduction of Dr. Edwards. So Dr. Lynne Edwards has taught classes in the art of dreaming for 15 years and practices dreaming for others, an ancient Egyptian divination method. After receiving a PhD in urban planning from Columbia University, Lynne worked in the field of cooperative economic development for a number of years until a series of profound experiences and dreams shifted her attention and professional focus to the art of dreaming. Lynne is currently working on El Malefico, the second in a series of novels that begins with The Return of the High Priestess. And total disclaimer, I have known Lynne for 40 years, over 40 years. So, yeah. So welcome, everyone. So I'll ask Lynne to open. I think she's going to read a little bit from the book. Open with the passage from the initiation ceremony.
Okay.
And after she does that, we'll get into the little questions with Lynne. We're here for an hour. There's not a lot of time, so there'll be a short Q&A session towards the end of my conversation with Lynne. Okay.
Okay, very good. So these are some excerpts from the prologue. And I think it's useful because it gives you sort of the context of the story that subsequently unfolds. The winds of change stirred the cold desert air with messages from ancient gods, whispering in languages no longer remembered. Vast beyond human comprehension, the night sky was an array of dark blues, violet, and indigo, graced with stars that made luminous the radiant body of Nut, Queen of Heaven. Nephthys Meru walked swiftly along the course of the processional, guarded by statues fashioned in the images of archaic animals. Before long, she arrived at the entrance to the Temple of Maat in the city of Karnak. The gates of the temple were made of ornately carved cedar wood and decorated with inlays of gold, silver, and precious stones. Imported from Abyssinia, the designs formed symbols that only the adepts could fully comprehend. She entered quickly, drawing her long white tunic more closely around her slender body against the onrush of wind from the temple corridors. Her sandal-shod feet barely made a sound. Nephthys Meru rose and walked to the seventh gate, pausing for a moment in front of the life-size statue of Queen Hatshepsut, patroness of the Order of the Priestesses of Maat. Then she entered the inner sanctum, where the ceremony would take place. Isis was waiting for her. Nephthys Meru saw her teacher and her heart filled with love and devotion. She bowed her head and crossed her breast with both arms in ritual salutation. Isis, senior priestess and founder of the order, acknowledged her greeting and embraced Nephthys Meru warmly. Though Isis was many years older than Nephthys Meru, her dark brown skin was flawless and glowed with inner radiance. The outlines of her slender body, lithe from years of physical training and the practice of sacred dance and meditation, could be seen under her long white tunic, belted simply at the waist. She wore golden cuff bracelets engraved with the image of the goddess Maat. Nephthys Meru wore the same bracelets, but as senior high priestess, Isis wore a golden collar, indicating her status as an accomplished adept. Come, Nephthys, join with me and energize the sacred crystals in commemoration of this sacred occasion. They stood side by side and recited the prayer from the Book of Life. Permit thou not me to be judged according to the mouths of the multitude. May my soul lift itself up before Osiris, having been found pure when on earth. May I come into thy presence, O Lord of the gods. May I arrive at the nome of Mati. May I rise up on my seat like a god endowed with life. May I give forth light like the company of gods who dwell in heaven. May I become like one of you. May I look upon the company of gods. May I smell the savor of divine food of the company of gods. May I sit down with
Ashe. I love that. Oh, thank you for reading that opening passage there. So, okay, so tell us about the book in general then, and a synopsis of the story as it moves into the modern time.
So when the story opens, we meet Willow. And it's so funny because I wrote this so many years before I taught at CIIS, but Willow is teaching in the anthropology department at the City of New York Graduate Center. She's teaching the art of dreaming. And when we meet her, she's been having a series of dreams. And some of them seem to recall a life in ancient Egypt. So she's been a little focused on those dreams. So she walks into the class proceeds, and then when the students are reciting their dreams, Mariel, one of the students, recites a dream of ancient Egypt nearly identical to Willow's own. The only difference was the perspective. So the two of them talk, they get together, they realize this is unusual. So they begin to understand that they've come together again in modern times to continue a task that was started in the past that they weren't able to fully achieve. So they've come together, and over time, in the course of the book, they come to realize they have been brought together for a terrible and terrifying purpose, and they will achieve success.
Okay. So what inspired you to write the novel?
Okay, so this is very interesting. At the time, our dear friend Gloria, was still with us on this plane. And I had a dream about her. And in the dream, Gloria was wearing a long black dress, and she was fleeing for her life from an ancient temple. It sort of looked like those pictures you see of the rose red city in Petra. But it was an ancient temple, and she was terrified. She was fleeing for her life. And after I had that dream of Gloria, I told Gloria, I thought, well, this is interesting. Gloria was, it's interesting. So then after that, I had a dream about myself. Only in the dream, I had olive skin. I was a tall woman with curly hair sort of piled on top of my head. And I was wearing a long white gown that was belted. And I stood along this promenade. And the statues that lined the promenade were of archaic animals. They weren't of animals that I would recognize today. So then from those two dreams, the book began to unfold. I thought, oh, Gloria and I had these ancient, we had past lives in ancient Egypt. It's very interesting. And then I began to develop the storyline. And one of the things that I did in terms of character development that was enormously useful was I asked Annette for her assistance, because as you know, she's a very, very talented astrologer.
They don't know that.
They don't know that about you, but
no, they do. But
that's a very talented astrologer. So we talked about the different characters, and I thought, okay, this guy is born in this year, 1515, BC. But so we just came up with dates, and what was so amazing was how the dates and the characters meshed. So
that was a fun process, I must say. I remember that.
Very interesting.
I have multiple files, going through that and building the characters and looking at their personalities and correlating them with astrology.
And then that does make an appearance in the form of the character Ayana in the book.
Very cheeky character. Yeah. So you speak about dreams and the art of dreaming, and in the book there are multiple dreaming techniques that you go into and speak about that the characters use and develop. So tell us a bit about these techniques, and what is the possibility of the individuals mastering those techniques.
Right. So what I did in in developing the story, I relied on my own experiences as well as the experiences of a teacher of mine by the name of Frank. So what you see the average, you see dream recall in the sense that most of us are familiar with. You go to sleep, you wake up, you have a dream, you recall, you interpret it. You also see waking dreaming, where while fully awake, you close your eyes and you enter the deep dream state, and you're seeking knowledge and information. Then there's telepathy, where you can communicate with dreamers while you're awake. And there's also astral projection. Now, this is it's not common. Many people have experienced this, but it's not that common. And then what the characters do and use astral projection to move between different dimensions is unusual. It's unusual. Now, most people on the planet can learn to recall their dreams, record them, and interpret them, and thus providing guidance for everyday life. My mother used to always say there is no dress rehearsal to life, but there is, and it's your dreams. So most people can do that. You master the art of dreaming. So then let's say you meet someone named Sarah, and you think she's cute and you want to initiate a relationship. Well, you have a dream about Sarah. The dream says basically Sarah is a no good Nick. So then you know to keep that relationship, sort of relaxed. And
I see people, most of us dream and some of us recall dreams, but as having the ability to program dreams, let's say to ask and answer questions within the dream, as opposed to having a random dream. And then there's a process of learning to even trust your dreams at that level.
That's it. That's the critical thing, is self-confidence. That's the critical thing. Because people can learn, first of all, dreams are not entirely random. So if you have a dream and, the dreams that you're taking a trip to Italy. Okay, that seems very random. But what often happens with the dream time is it's ahead of the material world. So 2 years from now, you might find yourself in Italy and say, wow, I had that dream. And now so most of the time your dreams will give you guidance. And the more you work with your dreams, the clearer they become, the more specific they become, the more you can ask the teacher within to send you a dream about your new job, your new partner, your spiritual path, whatever it is you're interested in.
And then you just said something very interesting, the teacher within.
Right, teacher.
So, people have to develop that relationship.
You do. You have to develop the relationship with the teacher within, which is your own intuition, especially now when things are so topsy-turvy and confused in the world. You really need that inner guide. And so I would encourage everyone to, work with their dreams and take them seriously, and then feel confident. In the beginning, you'll have a dream and just say, well, I don't know. But if you practice long enough, you develop confidence and you see, you understand the dreams more clearly, and so on and so forth.
You also mentioned, there like you mentioned several types of dreams, which increase in complexity. And,
and see, the main thing is awareness.
Stay in the frame.
Say the main thing is awareness. Now, I've had several past life dreams. Why did I dream of those particular past lives? I dreamt of those particular past lives because my higher self felt those were the most useful in the current context. And although people think of past lives as past, they're not past. You can think of your incarnations as being on a continuum. And you can visit the past and you can visit probable futures. That's something that most people who are really interested in dreaming as a path to knowledge can develop. Most people can develop that ability with practice. Now, I should also say, the information that you access from the unified field is based on your own level of development. So if you're sitting with a master, and the master, it's going to be an entirely different level. The master may read the Akashic record directly, but we often read sort of reflections of reality. So the longer you practice, the more you advance in terms of levels your consciousness can reach in understanding the dream state.
Okay.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Okay.
Takes discipline. One of the most disciplined people I know.
And of course, astral projection is what many people do already with dreaming, because you're entering the dream time, which is, also known as the astral plane. The challenge is to do so in full consciousness, and that's very difficult. And it's even more difficult to do so, enter a different dimension, enter a different dimension, and then return from that dimension with tangible proof. I'll give you an example. One of my friends, Frank, Annette knows Frank. I don't know if he's still in this world or not. I haven't spoken with him in years. But he told me about a trip that he took to ancient Egypt with some of his friends.
In the dream time?
In the dream time. And Frank was surely an adept. So they took this trip, and he said when he came back, they had sand in their shoes. Right. Now that's a level of mastery and a level of energy. You see, to be able to travel those different dimensions, take a crew of friends with you, and then come back with sand in your shoes. That's not something that everyone will be able to do, but you never know. It's worth embarking on the path of dreaming and seeing how you advance.
I don't have to do any spoilers for the book, but Mariel and Willow actually have to go into another time dimension in order to fulfill their mission.
They do. And that's why I was able to call upon the experience of my friend Frank. Because although the book is a fictional representation of the lives of these different individuals, a lot of what's in the book is not fiction. So the dreaming techniques and the exposition of the dreaming techniques. Yeah.
Okay. So why did you decide to incorporate astrology in the book?
That's a very good question. I don't know. I guess it's because it was during one of those periods in time when you were attempting to teach me astrology. I was never good in geometry, so I've learned the basics, but I think it must have been one of those times. And then it occurred to me, these people are from an ancient time. I wonder what their character looked like. And that's how we were able to come up with different people, particularly the bad guy. Yeah,
the bad guy. Okay. So what else do you want to share with us about the book or about dreaming?
Well, just that I would encourage everyone to think about dreaming in a serious way as a path to knowledge. And you can begin by, setting the intention that you're going to remember your dreams. Cast an aura of protection, surround yourself with white light, golden light, or no light, and just ask for the protection of higher intelligence. And then you go to sleep, you dream. And when you wake up, before you get out of bed, record your dreams. And then after the dream is recorded, you're up, you try to interpret the dreams. And over time, with a couple of key aids, you can really learn to interpret them. You understand the dreams, and they begin to form a pattern. Like I remember when my mother-in-law was dying, I had 6 dreams in a row, showing me her approach to death, showing me her death, showing me after death, and then showing me her rebirth. So sometimes, especially when it's at a time in your life that's fraught or is very intense. Yeah. So I would encourage everyone to take up dreaming and, to have confidence in what you dream.
I was going to ask you another question with respect to dreaming, and it slipped away. But I'd like to just return to the book for an instant. I mean, one of the things I really enjoyed about reading the book is, the level of detail the places. You know, if you're a New Yorker, or if you know New York, you'll really enjoy that aspect of the book. You know, you get to go around, especially I guess, yeah, well, what is that area? Maybe beyond
Brooklyn?
the Upper West. No, beyond the Upper West Side,
You mean
and the Morningside, you know,
Right,
that
right,
area,
right.
of the Morningside Heights,
Right.
and those areas. That was really great. So, are those areas was that your stomping ground back in the day?
It sort of was. I mean, the that train stop, 145th Street, used to be my old stop when coming from Lower Manhattan, but I didn't go the way Willow goes in the book. I went a different way. And then we have a mutual friend, Bernadette, who lived in Brooklyn for many years. And it has sort of a Mariel feel to her. And so I, you know, she gave me a lot of advice in terms of Brooklyn, you know, where people might live, what she might rent, so on and so forth. The Bronx, I sort of knew the Bronx and Arthur Avenue from my own experiences, but yeah. Yeah.
I remember you speak 145th Street. Lynn and I, we actually, when I was a child, we didn't really live far from each other, but we didn't know each other. And my stop was 145th Street. I went down the hill, and Lynn went up, you know, up the hill in the other direction.
Right.
So, you know, like the smallest things.
It's funny because we're just like, what, 9 years apart. And it wasn't until we met eventually at the University of Michigan that we realized those things. So, yeah, of course, if we had met back then, you would have been a little girl, and I would have been a
You'd have been
teenager.
like a little pipsqueak. So, yeah. I could ask you more, but I think we can open up to some questions. If anyone has questions they'd like to ask about the book or about the art of dreaming. And you can let's see. V, can you moderate that? Because
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so
I
much for
can't hear
everything
you
so far.
Oh, Lynn, V.
Can everybody
see Rachel
hear me?
has her hand.
Okay, just go ahead and ask your questions.
Okay. Hi. Oh,
Rachel.
I am on,
Rachel,
right?
go. Okay.
I don't know who is
I see.
on.
Okay, then Danielle
Oh,
for admission.
Okay, Inhui, can you hear me, Inhui?
yeah, I can.
Okay, Annette, can you hear me?
Danielle, can you hear me?
Okay, so then it seems that Annette
Okay,
cannot
good.
hear us.
Yeah, Annette, can you not hear everyone?
No, she.
Yeah, it seems
Annette,
you cannot hear.
Danielle, are you speaking?
I am. Can you hear me, Annette?
I can't hear.
And I am
No.
talking.
Oh, hold on a second. I think it's me.
Okay.
It's me.
Okay, excellent. All right, Danielle, if you don't mind, let Inhui go ahead,
Sure.
just because she's halfway around the world. Where
That's
are you,
fine.
Inhui?
That's fine.
Oh, I'm in Santa Rosa, California.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I enjoyed your book, you know, it was just fascinating. And, you know, I'm a really lousy dreamer, you know, and so, yeah, that's why, you know, the book was more fascinating. Oh my God, you can do all this in your dream? So I really enjoyed all the characters, and as Annette said, all the descriptions on the streets, you know, buildings, you know, and all the furniture details, and you know, I really enjoyed everything. And especially the way you write this as a graduate school level, and students' presentation, you know, and it's just like really what can I say? Just incredible. And so there are many, you know, I mean, I can go on with my fascination and the questions. So anyway, thank you so much for publishing this book. And I'm totally now getting interested in dreaming finally.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so glad, you know, and even if you feel that, you know, you're not great at dreaming, if you set the intention, you go to sleep, He said, I'd like to have, this is what I do. I ask for dreams of guidance and understanding for myself and others. You do that every night. And then when you wake up, you record the dream. Even if all you get is, I saw a red car, write that down. Because it's just like bicycle riding. You know, when you first get on the tricycle, it's, it's very hard. But eventually you can become a real bicyclist and just like that. So it's practice, it's consistency, and confidence. Confidence in yourself, so that you don't say, oh, I can't do this, or I don't really understand that. Have confidence.
Yeah, so my question, I have a few. Just I'll ask two. I'll just ask two. So you said you have many past lives. You don't mind to share one?
No, I don't mind at all. In fact, one of them is in the novel. And, it's funny, but when I wrote the novel, I was inspired by, my dream and the dream about glory. But as time went on, I realized that a lot of the detail was actually detail that I had lived and experienced during a lifetime in ancient Egypt. And I once listened to an astrologer and I identified the time period. I'm not going to mention that because Annette told me not to. But that dream I'm in touch with, and that lifetime I'm in touch with because I put in the book. Then I had another dream of a lifetime. And this is important because my friend and teacher Frank told me that that I had known my second husband before, that we had met and that he had to go away. And I was always very desolated as a result. So I said, okay. So one day I was talking with my now ex-husband and I just said out of the blue, why did you leave me? And he said, it was my duty. This was a lifetime somewhere in the Middle East. Could have been Palestine. I was a little brown-skinned woman, and he was a crusader, and he had the white tunic with the red cross. And how I knew that was real, and how I've learned that past lives exist on a continuum, was my ex-husband and I were having an argument, not the first. We were having an argument and it was, tip, 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 tip. And I heard within, don't disturb the little couple. And so I saw, as a holographic image, the myself at that point in time and my ex-husband, Howard. So that us having arguments in the present affected that in the past.
Oh.
That's the second.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had one more to share just to show you that past lives aren't all fun and games. I dreamt I was a Black woman. I was on a slave ship. I was tied to the mast. I was naked. And then at some point I was dumped off on an uninhabited island. And I was all by myself, but I arranged plants. So I planted a garden and then I did these leaps. I would jump and leap and, I had sort of a mask on. And then when it was time to sleep, I slept with the plants because they were my only friends. So it was sort of a sad life, but that's the one that came up.
But you're such a wonderful gardener.
I do love gardening.
In this life, and
Right.
do a lot of your medicine is herbal medicine.
Correct.
That comes from the plant world. So
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
You definitely see the parallel there.
Yeah.
So those are examples, but I mean, there are many, many, many dreams, and each individual can discover, for herself what's the most relevant.
And a lot of it is really that, that confidence and the trust and the faith. Because I know, although I just have a lot of respect for the spirit world, there's a one foot that's sort of in this material plane. I'm going, really? And so I think for most of us, there is this juggle, this balance. And it does take a huge leap of faith and trust in spirit, to sort of live this way and,
Right.
and to use these tools, these spiritual technologies
Right.
in our lives.
Right. And then, of course, practice makes perfect. And I've had dreams for others, and people have said that's the style. It's astonishingly accurate. And so you have some of those experiences. It's sort of, it reinforces your confidence. You think, yes, I can do this. I can learn this way.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Nhui. And I think Danielle has a question exactly about how to do it, right? Isn't that a great segue, Danielle? Go ahead.
It is. And Rachel, I also know that your hand was up before mine. So okay. Hi, Dr. Edwards and Annette. I love this conversation. And I haven't read the book yet, but I am on my way to ordering it now because I really do want to read it. Sounds so fascinating. So I asked my question in the chat because I remember you had said the key aids of, like how to identify what is happening. I'm someone who I think I dream almost every night. I've been writing down my dreams almost every day for about 5 years. And so, yeah, a lot has happened in my dreams. And I really love what you said about dreams as dress rehearsal, because I do believe that.
Right.
And I think, my dreams have shifted a lot. Now they're kind of coming. I've had dreams with other people in my life, and it's me running from place to place usually, or that's usually the feeling. And now it's more like things are happening to me physically. And I don't exactly know what aids or where to find those aids to help interpret the shifts or what is happening or the themes. So that's really my question is where do I find those aids, or what would you suggest?
I'm going to jump in. So Linda,
Sure.
it reminded me of something I was going to say about creating your own dream glossary, your own dream dictionary, because dream symbols can be very, very personal. And I remember you told me to do that years ago, I think, and I started doing that. And yeah, if you want to add to that.
Absolutely. I think the basic thing, you could, could take my class, but no, seriously. There are two books that I want to. There are two books that I would recommend. One may or may not be out of print, but it's available on Amazon. It's called Dream Work for the Soul by Rosemary Gilly. And it's a wonderfully written book, and it'll give you the ABCs of dreaming, dream recall, recording your dreams, etc. Then there's an excellent dictionary. It's the Penguin Dictionary
Dream Symbols.
Of Dream Symbols, Penguin Dictionary of Symbols. And it's by Gerbrandt and
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Upstairs, I have it on my bookshelf.
But those two books are very, very helpful, because sometimes, when you dream, you access a level of reality beyond your own particular frame of reference. Give you an example. I once had a dream about myself. I was living in Ithaca, and I dreamt about a spider, and the spider was, weaving a little house. So I woke up in the morning, I thought, well, I'm not really afraid of spiders. There are other insects that I don't like that'll remain nameless. But I thought, why am I having this? So I looked in the book, the symbols book, to see what possible meanings there could be of spider. Lo and behold, there was a quote from the Quran. Verily, what house is more fragile than the house of the spider? So you see, that's not an image that I would have gotten from everyday life. That's an image from a different culture at a different time. And that's where that book was helpful. Do you see what I mean? Because your mind, your mind has free range of the fields of consciousness accessible to human beings. See?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's why those books are useful. It's not so much that you look up the book, you look in the book and you say, I dreamt of a snowmobile, so now I need to get a snowmobile. It's not that literal, but it'll give you ideas. And then when you're interpreting your dream, you have that aha moment where you really nailed the meaning.
Lynn, thank you for your question, Danielle. Is it Tony Crisp, the encyclopedia that you were talking about, the penguin one? No, we'll find it. We'll figure it out. We'll share it. I'll keep searching.
I think I have it on my shelf.
Okay.
Okay. We'll share it. Rachel, go ahead. Good to see you.
1 second. What was I was going to say something about to that in terms of oh yeah, your dreams are not trying to trick you. Actually, they're there, to work with you and to help you in terms of your growth, development, your and for guidance. So in terms of what symbols are your own, as how I'm saying, like create your glossary. All of that is very useful, and if you have something that a particular system that you work with, do that consistently, and then you'll get a concordance between your consciousness and dream consciousness and whatever you're doing in the material world.
And I should say this also, not all symbols can be interpreted. Sometimes images appear in dreams and they're sort of numinous, and you just have to honor that they appeared. I had a dream once of an aspen tree with golden leaves. I thought about possible interpretations, but none really rang true. So I just accepted that as a gift, to be able to see that image. What else was I going to say before you asked me that about dreams and symbols? Oh, the reason that dreams are in symbolic language is, of course, it would be easier if you got a printout in English, or Arabic or Portuguese, but that doesn't work that way. It comes in symbols. So you're learning to interpret the symbols, and the symbols can be very, very wide ranging. And that's why you practice. See, but if you have a dream and you say, "Wow, but I don't fully understand," it's okay. Just record the dream. You may understand it as years go by, or it may remain a mystery, and that's okay too.
Thank you so much for your words. Appreciate it.
Sorry, V.
Oh, were you going to say something else, Annette? This entire conversation is such a gift. I didn't really know what to expect, and this is just like feeding some part of me. I have so many questions. I am a dreamer in my sleeping life and in my waking life. And I can remember distinct periods over my life where I dreamt, for instance, about water, and that was a theme. And other times it was flying, and other times it was falling, and and now I have a lot of ancestral dreams. Like it changes. And I wondered two things. If you could, well, I'll ask the first one. Can you speak about, I remember maybe in my 20s when I was having very violent dreams, and at some point I was able to take action in my dreams. And that was actually, there was a lot of trauma in my waking life, and I was able to turn around and claim this. I remember saying, "This is my dream. This is my dream." And since then, I've been able to do that, like sometimes ask questions and things like that. And so can you talk about that kind of dreaming?
Yes, definitely. And that's excellent, because what you did is that's what the dreams are for. Often when people have very active dreams or violent dreams, even nightmares, the dream is a nightmare because it's a message that's trying to get through. And maybe you've got, the message was sent several times, you didn't pick it up. And so then there's more and more energy simply to be able to reach you to explain what that is, explain what is the meaning that you need to derive from the dream. Dreams usually appear as you need them. So if you're in your 20s, you may have dreams about partners, you might have dreams about career. It just depends. It depends on what you need at the time. The further you go with dreaming, the more varied and advanced your dreams will become. You may have dreams of being on the other side. You may have dreams of meeting ancestors or activities with ancestors. You may have dreams where you're attending a class on the other side. All of this is possible. And it's just a question of building up your stamina, your dream stamina, as it were, and your knowledge in terms of how to interpret the dreams. See, it's very important. I'm glad you raised that. That's something I forgot. So after you recall your dream, you record your dream, you interpret your dream, then you take action on the dream. So if you have a dream that basically says, this guy Sam is a real rat. He was at the club, he was dancing with 6 other girls, Well, then the dream is saying, Sam is not for you. Pick up the phone and say, yo, Sam, it's not happening.
Mhm.
See what I mean? You take action on the dream. That's a very simplistic one. It could be something where, let's say you have a dream. Let's say you're having a tummy ache and you have a dream about your tummy, and you see a series of pills and the pills fall to the floor. So it may be that you need to call the doctor, find out what's going on with your tummy, find out what medicine you should be taking, and not something that's fallen to the floor. You see what I mean?
Mhm, mhm.
It's just,
Something that as you said, Rachel, is the ability to go into the dream or become aware within the dream,
Right.
and then to work, to sort of turn it around and say, wait a minute, what action can I take even in the dream to change my reality in the
Yeah, and
material world?
that's very specific, because that involves a degree of lucidity in the dream, which is, some people have lucid dreams, some don't. It's okay. It just has to do with how the brain functions. But whether it's within the dream time or in waking life, you want to take action on the dream. And one of the things you can do with waking dreaming is, after you've had the dream, you've recorded it, you've interpreted the dream. You say, I want to go back into that dream, and I want to tell Sam that it's over. You can, settle down into the dream state while awake. You can visualize the dream, go back into the dream where you want to re-enter the dream, and produce the outcome that you want.
Mhm.
See what I'm saying? And that then also changes your mind, and then will change the events in waking life.
Thank you. That was powerful. I have one other quick question.
Oh,
If
go
I
ahead.
could just
Love it. I
listen
can talk about
and
dreams
talk
all-
to you. So I wanted you to talk about the nature of dreams that involve sex. When you have visitors that want to have sex, or when you even wake up an orgasm or something like that, which is a very nice dream, I think, that I've had. Rare, but it happens, right? And so I just wondered if you could talk about that kind of energy. Sometimes it's been okay, and sometimes it's been really unwanted, like vampire-ish too. So
Okay, so anything that happens in a dream that's unwanted, you shut it down and reject it.
okay.
Okay. Now, when you're young, I'm 73, so everything is young. But when you're young, you often have sexual dreams, because it's the reproductive time of life. Your sexuality is at its peak. So naturally, these are experiences in life. So you will experience them in the dream time. Sometimes it's possible for people who have not properly surrounded themselves with the aura of protection to attract negative visitors. So you don't want to do that. You always want to go to sleep, surround yourself with the pure white light of the Christ. And then the people, or the pure white light of Buddha, or higher intelligence, whatever works for you. So then the people in your dreams are sort of by invitation, if you understand what I mean. People who are not supposed to be there. I had a dream once, and I was dreaming about my house. I had this gorgeous white mansion. There was beautiful light. And I saw a couple come along, and they said, you ought to turn those lights down. And I said to myself, why? So I woke up, I went out back into the dream. I told them, to go away. They didn't belong in my dream. I closed the door, boom. That was that. See, sometimes that happens, but it's not that often. And I wouldn't want anyone to worry about that, because, just surrounding yourself with the aura of protection will clear away any of those things. People who have other kinds of experiences in dreams where they attract these entities and so on, those are people who are purposefully seeking mischief. And that's not recommended.
Or if you're a bright light, like you're saying, in the dream you have a bright house, you will attract, because you're this lovely bright entity, right? Being. So you will definitely attract, you'll be attractive, and attract things
Right.
to you. Like I said, it's time to shut it down. Or like you just said, no, go away.
Right. But most of the time when you have the aura of protection, you remember to do it, you'll be fine. You know, the astral plane is just like the material plane. You know, there are neighborhoods in the Bay Area I wouldn't want to go to, you know, because they seem sketchy. Well, the same thing is true of the astral plane. There are areas you don't want to visit because they're inhabited by other beings and it's not for you to interact
Thank you, Lynn.
with.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Rachel. Karen, would you like to mute yourself and pose your question, do your remark?
Hey, Karen.
Hi. No, I wrote my question because I'm in my office, and that's
Okay.
why I wrote it. So can
Sure,
you read
I
it,
will.
Annette?
Yeah, I will.
Or-
I will.
Okay, thanks, V.
So thank you, Karen. Karen is saying, culturally, as an African-American woman, I was always asked about my dreams so that my family could look in the dream book, like Kansas City Kitty, to
Mhm.
look up the corresponding numbers. Can you speak to this? Do you have similar experience?
With numbers,
Okay. No, you didn't do the numbers, girl. Okay.
you can get numbers in dreams. You can get
Right.
numbers in dreams and you can play those numbers. Okay, people do that. And it's certainly possible to do. It's not anything that I have done, though I will say my great aunt Mary, who passed away and who had the gift of sight, she regularly did that. She dreamt of numbers and she played them, and she always had extra cash. So it's certainly possible to do that.
And there is a whole book, you know, there's like a Karen referring to. There's a book, like it's like a dream symbols book, right? So you dream that corresponds to this number. That I remember from being a kid.
Yeah, that generally, I mean, and then there's the whole numerology and what numbers signify and so on. And you could do your research and you can find out more information about that. So that when you do dream of numbers, particularly if you dream frequently of numbers, you'll know what actions you want to take.
So actually, it's more symbology. Like, you know, you dream of heaven, that's 7-Eleven, you know, and things like that. But I just wondered. Maybe it's a Detroit thing, but Annette, you seem to be familiar
Yeah, New
with
York
it there.
thing too.
We did it in New York as well. It's not something I have focused on, but that doesn't mean it's not something that can be done. See what I mean? You can, yeah, you can definitely do that. And as I said, my Aunt Mary did it all the time. You know.
Thank you again. I have to say, the first comment that we got, which was like as soon as we started, Dr. Adiba said, just seeing the two of you on screen is doing my heart well, loving this already. And here we are, you know, like 10 minutes before the end, and the hearts are even fuller, and, you know, everybody is smiling, and it's just a wonderful experience. We don't have any questions posted in the chat. Oh, there is Lynn. Go ahead, please, Lynn.
Yeah, hi. I can't seem to find the cursor for raising my hand. Lynn, did you have a strong connection to Egypt before you had these dreams that helped you to start writing this book?
That's a very good question. And yes, I did have a connection to Egypt because I studied with, let's see how to explain a star. I studied with an ancient Egyptian mystery school. So that was my connection. So I think those studies and my sort of helped me to recognize the dreams as they appeared and to recognize that they were my own, that this was the life that I had led. See?
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
I did have that connection, yeah. Now the forthcoming book, El Malefico, which I wrote with my my dear friend Gloria's assistance, because I've never traveled to Mexico City. So some things in the second book, I wasn't at all familiar with, but some of the same characters from the first book are in the second book. And I learned from Gloria that a malefico is an archdemon. And that's why I named the book El Malefico.
We haven't talked about that.
No.
I saw that. Is there something from Rachel? A question?
Yes, it's a question from Rachel, and then there are like several of us saying the same, the same, the same. So, Rachel, go ahead, just say it.
Lynn, do you offer courses or workshops for dream work?
Huh?
You ever work with groups?
Yes, I do offer courses and I do offer workshops. My favorite course to teach, which was the very first course I taught at CIIS, is a weekly class, Introduction to the Art of Dreaming for 6 weeks, because it takes that much time to, to get into the swing of things. And if you're in a group of people, you learn to interpret dreams by helping them in interpreting their dreams as well as your own. I also do workshops, like an afternoon workshop or even an all-day workshop, which is sort of like the intensives. But the very best thing is the once a week, because it takes time, to really digest the information and to gain enough practice that you can then.
Nice to practice.
Do you have anything coming up? I think that's what we were all interested in knowing.
You have to ask the director of the Women's Spirituality Program.
But we tried that, but you didn't like the online format. It
was also because it was the advanced. But it's going to be the advanced class.
Okay, so there's some issues with the online format versus all day, which is really too intense, so trying to figure out the right format
We'll figure something
to
out.
do this, and especially now that we're online.
We're all online, but the best thing is to have a weekly class so that people can really gain confidence through practice, and then you can go further. I teach, in addition to Introduction to the Art of Dreaming, I teach Dreaming with the Tarot and Dreaming with Astrological Symbols. And I prefer, the very best thing is in person. But at least if it's on the screen and it's over a period of time, then we get to know each other. Everyone is comfortable with the work that we're doing. And if there's anyone in the group that's having a particularly difficult time, I can zero in on that. You see, for most people, these courses they're interesting, they're exciting, they're informative. But for people who may have a very deep psychological issue, something might come up in a dream that would be better handled in the context of a therapeutic session.
Which you would recommend, not
which I would,
with you.
No, not with me, with a person who's just because it depends on how much you open up and how much you need to explore. But as I said, for most people, what we're doing today, what we've discussed, is fine.
And many people also don't have good boundaries or are too porous.
Many people are too porous. Right. And there are a lot of advanced dreaming techniques. And the best thing to do is not to get involved in any techniques that you can't easily master. And at the point in time when the teacher within tells you to do something else, then you can go for it. See?
Thank you. Dr. D, I see your hand. I just want to check if there's somebody who has a question but can't figure out, just wave at me or unmute yourself and speak. I don't want the technology to be in the way of participating. And if that's not happening, Dr. D, please go ahead.
Yes, greetings. As I said, as this screen opened and I saw the two of you and this beautiful art behind you, it just is like, it's everything right here on my screen right now. I do have a question about the energy. It seems just visually looking on the screen right now that there's a lot of feminine energy that is forwarded in this dreaming process, and as I've heard a little bit of how the book is described and so forth. And I'm curious about the masculine energy as it relates to intuition and dreaming and so forth. It feels like the feminine is really drawn to this topic and this practice. And so how does masculine energy show up?
Right. Right. Well, it's of course it's the very same practice, because although within our culture, women are seen as more intuitive than men, all people are intuitive. All people can learn to dream. And gender and race are meaningless, because when you dream, you're on a plane that supersedes material reality. I've had dreams where I appear as a young white man. I've had dreams where I appear as an old woman, with long, gray hair. So the dream character varies, and the gender of the person dreaming doesn't necessarily determine the gender of the dream character. Okay, so let's say you dream, and over time you learn to recognize yourself within the dream. You can dream of yourself as a woman, you can dream of yourself as a man, you can dream of yourself as trans, dream of yourself as a child. It's open, because what your higher self will do, and your teachers and guides, is they will select from your subconscious mind the images that make the most sense. Like if you can imagine, here we are sitting in the world, and we're gaining knowledge. The knowledge is like dots. It's like it's like energetic dots. Okay, you might see colors or letters. And then our minds, using our subconscious, turn that into symbols. See what I mean? So, and then with that information, then you can proceed. See what I mean? So gender doesn't really have anything to do with it. The only thing I think gender would have to do with it is that within our culture, women may be more open. But of course, many of the great shamans and masters in history have been men. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. What we think of you see, and that's the interesting thing about ancestors. Someone was mentioning dreams about ancestors. It's very interesting to have dreams about one's ancestors. It's certainly very possible. Annette has dreams about her ancestors all the time. The interesting question that arose for me quite recently, though I have had many dreams about my ancestors in my current life, is, well, who were the ancestors in the other life? See what I mean? In that dream where I was a slave, and I was who are the ancestors then? Who are the ancestors? See, so it gets to be sort of interesting. It gets to be very interesting.
I'm looking at the time. We have like 1 minute. Okay.
That's okay. We can do another question.
Okay. Okay, so Lynne is open to doing another question if you'd like to hang around for a little bit. If you need to go, thank you very much for being with us today. And we'll be here for another question or so.
We don't have a very specific question. Ayana, if I'm pronouncing that well, reminds us that there are key male characters in the book as well.
Yeah.
So you just spoke about, yeah. So I don't know if you want to wrap up, the conversation by bringing it back to the book and to the male characters.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, talk about the second book.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So in the Return of the High Priestess, we do encounter, we encounter,
I'm sorry, no.
I thought you were giving me a hint not to say that. We encounter a man who is initially just a cosmopolitan European, as an art collector. But over the course of the book, we see his relationship to the ancient character Seth that Mariel and Willow knew in the distant past. So that's, and then Mariel has a boyfriend and Willow has a boyfriend. When I was writing the book, I wasn't really thinking about the boyfriend. My sister said, look, she's in her 30s. She has to have a boyfriend. Okay, boyfriend. And then there's also a very special person who I don't know that I once knew, but I put in the book as someone I once knew, named Toth Amun. And just a very dramatic and fascinating character. I'm trying to give answers without giving away too much.
That total note is worth the read. So,
Okay, I will post the link to the book, you know. It's like it's like high time to have people purchase. No, that's thank you for sharing everything so deeply, and it's such great heart. People are sending tons of messages with tons of emojis of hearts and fire and thank yous and beauty and beautiful.
What's wrong?
Yeah, it was really wonderful. A number of them are signing off. It's a midday.
Right.
Final invitation for, you know, for anyone who would want to contribute, maybe say thank you for all of us, you know, directly on the screen.
Thank you.
Otherwise,
thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you very, very much for coming. This has been delightful.
Thank you so
being
much.
moderator. Oh,
That's in
sorry,
here?
that's in here,
I
yes.
always hear about you. Now I see you in person.
The infamous in here.
Can I still ask one more question?
You can ask another question.
Okay, so I'm large dreamer, but I experienced if you are in some kind of spiritual community, I get better dreams. So in this book, Mariel, am I giving too much information? Mariel and the Willow, they live, they are in physical reality, they are close.
Right.
And they are able to do this, do same dream together. So my question is, can a dreamer invite someone to dream together from another place, another times?
Yes, yes. But it's not that easy.
I guess not, yeah.
Okay, but you can do that. I tried doing that with my friend Gloria, and we worked on it, we worked on it, we worked on it. We never actually got that, but what we were able to achieve was dream telepathy. It's much easier to communicate to the dreamer when you're awake. Okay, so I'll give you an example. This was when I was living in Ithaca and my mother-in-law was very, very ill. And so I went to the kitchen sink in the middle of the night and I was just, sort of a little upset. And I said, Gloria, I really need to talk to you. It was with a great deal of energy, a great deal of emotion. And then I began singing to her, Gloria, Gloria, Gloria. Okay. Next day I called Gloria on the phone and she said, you won't believe the dream I had. I was dreaming. And then all of a sudden someone said, you have an incoming message. And the incoming message was me. See, so you can do that. But it takes energy. The more active you want to be with dreaming, the more energy it takes. And yes, being part of a spiritual community helps. Having a daily meditation practice definitely helps. Studying spiritual literature helps. Because the goal is to awaken all of these levels of being while we're incarnated. So that's waking, dreaming, and meditation. Because ultimately, they form a seamless whole.
Thank you. That helps. That's one burning question.
A whole seminar happening here.
I'm sorry. I hope I'm not taking up all this everybody's time. We are in this really political, a crisis in all areas. So my question is, what are dreamers, role? I don't need too big, the global, national, domestic.
No, that's a very important question. That's a very important question. And as I like to teach, we don't learn the art of dreaming just to have interesting, fun experiences. We learn it to be of service to the community.
Right.
So dreams I've had about global warming, I share with my community. I've had several, quite stunning dreams. I had a very nice dream about Biden chasing Putin with a pitchfork, and he drew blood. So you can dream about many different kinds of things, and you can share that with your community, because this was the role of the ancient priestesses. So it's still it's still a duty to share what you've learned with others.
Oh, I see Juliet from Montreal. Hi,
Here.
Juliet. She's up in the corner there.
Oh, Juliet, hello.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming. There is a lot of questions about the class. Please teach the class. Please let the class happen.
So we'll do a 1 unit, 6 week, 5 week class.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I suppose that's for our chairperson,
Yes.
Dr. Annette Williams.
I
in
want to go
for-
there. Get this class going again.
Yeah,
And
so
there
definitely.
are a number of people asking about that second book that you mentioned, Lynne. I'm going to very briefly share my screen to show you. Is this the Dream Dictionary that you were? No, it's not. Okay,
No,
stop
it's-
sharing.
It's
We'll
the Penguin
It's a
Dictionary.
penguin. Yeah, it's sort of black and orange and white.
Okay.
Is it
Thing
is it
with-
this one? Here, wait. wait.
Let me see
I'm
if you
gonna
can
put a link. I don't
put
know.
the link and we'll figure it
Yeah.
out. Or I can give you the permission to black and orange. Okay, we'll figure it out and either be in touch with me or, be in touch with me if you're interested in that second book.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Well, thank you.
Anything else?
everyone.
Here, let's see.
I was just looking at it by the last name that you mentioned, and that might have been it. I don't know.
Okay, let me see if okay. It's J.E. Sirlot that that we found. No, it's not that one.
Look on Amazon and you can show people.
Well, you won't be able to see much on my phone. It's
Oh.
such a small phone.
Okay, but I can read it exactly.
Okay.
That's okay. We'll get it to the.
You'll find it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
nothing.
we'll find it. Okay, is it
Lynne,
time-
I just, oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry, I don't want to take up more of your time. I just wanted to ask if you had any, or if you do any kind of personal consultation or mentorship
Yes.
or something
Look
like
at
that.
email.
Yes, I do. I do dreaming for others. And this is what this is something that I only later remembered or that I knew came from that lifetime in ancient Egypt. And that's what people would do. You would go to the temple, you'd have a problem, and you tell the priest or priestess, and then the next day you would go there and they would tell you the dream and they would give you some herbal recommendations or that sort of thing. So yes, I do dreaming for others.
Want to
And,
put your email?
Mm.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
feel free to contact me and we can talk about it. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, because I can't
Okay.
remember. I've never remembered.
Okay, let
Don't
me-
move this stuff.
Don't move it. Okay.
No, just
Thank you so much. I
So where
really
is it
appreciate that.
typing?
just type. It's typing here.
Typing,
Don't mind us. This is 40 years of friendship here. Like, what are you doing?
I love to see you two interacting together. You can
Listen,
definitely
we
see the
have to
years.
do yes, please, admissions. You have to do something, it is.
I love it. I love
Where's
it.
that?
Okay, so I'll do the rest of it.
Okay.
Is that Gmail?
Yeah, did you put I put 409. Yeah,
Right.
at Gmail.
Oh, where is it?
I love
Okay,
it.
there you
There
go.
you go.
There we go.
And as far as mentorship is going, definitely. In fact, I had a student in Ithaca who was a yoga teacher. And we did a series of classes together, sort of one-on-one, because of his yoga practice, he was able to move more quickly through the material. So yes, I do that as well.
I used to go to school in Ithaca actually for a
Did
couple
you?
of
Where?
years. Yeah, at Ithaca College.
Nice. How long
Yeah.
ago?
This was 2009 to 2011, and then I transferred.
I
to
could have
Wesley.
seen you. I could have seen you walking down the street because I was still
I'm
there.
sure. I'm sure. I think it was kismet that we met today. So
right.
thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you both.
Very much.
Thank you. Take care.
You.
Thank you, Danielle.
Fun.
It's been
It's been long, a
It's been
long.
delightful. It's been absolutely delightful. I haven't
Yeah.
had a chance to talk about dreaming this much in quite some time because most of my friends just call with a question. What about so and so? You know.
Who are you talking about?
Or my daughter calls daily. Should I get my hair done this week? You know.
Thank you so much for your energy, for sharing your friendship with us, for sharing your expertise with us, for being with us. It was absolutely wonderful. It is a gift.
Wonderful. Thank you
It
to
is-
everyone. Thank you
Yeah,
all.
thank you,
Have a
everyone.
wonderful afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.